I'd also like to pay my respects to our elders past, present and emerging, and to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people here with us today. Secondly, I wanted to let you know that my gender pronouns are she, her, and please share your own if you're comfortable doing so. So a little bit about our society. So Women in Technology is a group of male and female students that advocate for emerging women in the technology industry. After being founded in 2016, we're a platform of more than 2.7 thousand students, and we encompass a broad range of university studies and university stages. I'll now pass over to Nishmi to introduce the rest of our event.
Thank you, Jane. So I'd like to extend a huge thank you to our sponsors for taking the time to be with us here today at our event. Today we're lucky enough to be joined by Jody from Atlassian, Nivaaz from Eucalyptus, Lachlan from McGrathNicol, and Maddie from Channel 9. After each of our lovely reps presents, there will also be a short Q&A session where you'll have a chance to ask me questions that you guys got, and followed by that we'll have a chance for you guys to network with our reps as well. So without further ado, let's welcome Nivaaz from Eucalyptus.
Hello everyone. Hi, I'm Nivaaz. I am a growth engineer at Eucalyptus. And Eucalyptus is one of Australia's fastest growing startups. So it's pretty cool to work there. I should probably tell you a bit about Eucalyptus before I jump into what I want to say. So Eucalyptus is basically a parent brand, and then what we've got is lots of little sub-brands underneath us, so something that's very similar to like an LVMH model. So we've got 4 brands. You might have heard of Kin Fertility. So one of their main things that they do is they deliver the pill to you, and you can get it completely online and talk to a doctor, and we're now expanding into fertility as well. We've also got Pilot, which is a men's health navigator. We've got Skin Software, which is prescription skincare online, and Normal, which is normalizing sexual wellness. So as a growth engineer, what I do is I take customer insight. So if a customer likes to click a red button more than a blue button, we basically test that out in the code, and then we look at what they've engaged with more, and then we roll that out as a permanent feature. At a very high level, but come talk to me afterwards if you want to know the nitty-gritties of what I do. So that's all the boring stuff, so it's time to get into the fun stuff. So what I love to start with when I'm doing these talks is something that makes me feel a little bit more human, because sometimes I think we glorify people that are getting up on stage to speak. So I want to tell you about a little story of something that happened to me last week. So on Friday last week, we launched a new feature, and I was lucky enough to be developing quite a bit of it, and I was really proud of this feature. It's like some of my best work that I've done. Technically it's confidential, so I can't tell you the insides of it, because I'm going to call it a feature for now. And you know, I pushed the button for it to go live on Friday, and I was really excited, and we went out to lunch and then came back, and I was like, okay, let me put together a graph so that I can see, you know, how many people have interacted with the little buttons that I've created. And so as I was doing that, my manager was like, oh, I've already done it for you. Like, there's already 11 people that have interacted with it. And I had a little fangirl moment, and I literally like jumped up and down like a seal and started clapping. And I was like, oh my God, someone interacted with the button. Like, this is so exciting. And I just like, no one really acknowledged that. And I looked across the room, and there was like, you know, one of the senior engineers, and he's looking at me, and I was like, someone clicked the button. And he was like, that's sick. And that was awesome, because sometimes I find myself fangirling by myself, so it's awesome to have someone else acknowledge it. But my first choose to challenge of the day is challenge how you get validation for yourself. It doesn't always have to be from other people, and if you don't clap for yourself and do a little woohoo moment every time you have a small win, you should definitely try it, because it's an awesome way to kick off, or just, I think, love yourself and what you've done. Cool. So next, so yeah, be your own cheerleader. The second story I want to tell is when I was looking for today's theme, or International Women's Day theme. I think it was just after I'd created my feature, I was like, oh, I should probably look at what the theme is so that I can start writing my speech, if not procrastinating some more. So jumped onto the website and, you know, it loaded up in purple. And then the words "choose to challenge" lit up on the page, and I just stopped for a second, and I was like, damn, they really nail it every single year. And for me in particular, this one was kind of special, and I got a little bit emotional about it because I think, one, as women, like, we face a lot of challenge day to day, and I've gone through a lot of that in my life. So it's nice to see that we can have a platform to, like, talk about it at this kind of level and share all of our challenges and experiences, and also ways that we can be unconventional, which is the way that I sort of interpret choose to challenge. And so I'm really, I think, honoured today to be able to, like, share my story with all of you, and also learn from all the other wonderful speakers from today about how they've been challenged and how they challenge conventional things day to day to either satisfy themselves or, you know, do something that makes an impact. And so what I'll tell you now is the story of how I basically ended up as a growth engineer, which is a little bit long and is basically my career story. So I think it starts, like, basically back in year 10. I attended a science open day at UNSW and got to have a tour of the quantum engineering labs, and then did like a presentation on nanoparticles the year after that at school, and I fell in love with quantum engineering. And so I set myself the crazy goal of becoming a quantum engineer. And so that led me to pick electrical engineering as my degree, which, again, I wanted to pick something that was really challenging, and it was very challenging. Basically in my first 2 years of university, I struggled a lot. I wasn't keeping up very well with my classes, and I failed a lot of subjects. And so when it came to apply for jobs, in second year, you know, all my friends were landing internships, and I was applying for them and getting rejected pretty much straight out. And so I was, like, determined that this was because of my marks, which it may or may not have been. And so what I wanted to do was, basically I set myself the mission of making myself so employable that no one could say no to me. So on that mission to become more employable, I turned to the CEO of the tutoring company that I'd been working at. And I just went to him and I said, hey, I've been wanting to learn to code for a while. Do you know of any other startups that would be willing to chat to me and potentially, like, mentor me in learning to code? Like, I don't really care if it's paid or unpaid at this point, but all good. And he just turned around and said to me, oh, I've got this top secret project that I've actually been wanting to do for a while, and I'll set you up with a mentor, and you know, we'll see how this goes, and I'll mentor you through, like, the product process and all that sort of thing as well. And that was really awesome. And basically within 6 months, I'd developed an ATAR calculator and put it on the internet, and that was my first coding project ever. And so basically my choose to challenge learning from here is, don't take the conventional route to get a job. Use your network, and I think people sometimes say, oh, you know, she just used her network to get a job and all that sort of thing, but if it gets you where you want to be, and it helps you, you know, get there in an easier way or a quicker way, then absolutely do it. Like, challenge the traditional way of getting a job, and do the unconventional route, and do silly jobs like tutoring, because you never know where that will lead you. So from there, basically that was the foundation for me to end up in a lot of different jobs from there. So I worked for a range of different startups doing design, engineering, product, designing pitch decks, all this kind of stuff. And I worked in, like, finance, education, and design as well, which was really awesome. And, you know, while I was just trying to get some sort of job experience, obviously I still wanted to become a quantum engineer. And there was no, like, solid way to become a quantum engineer at that stage. It was quite new. And so I didn't know what that pathway looks like, but I was just eager to make sure that I kept challenging myself and kept going forward. And even if I didn't end up as a quantum engineer, I was going to work out what I loved and what I didn't love. Because I think the worst thing that you can do for yourself is, like, put this ideal goal in front of you, but you have no idea about it. And just throw yourself towards that, and then you get there and you're like, oh, this isn't what it panned out to be. And so when I actually ended up becoming a quantum engineer, which I did it for my undergraduate thesis, I completed that, and I said that was enough for me. And I ticked that goal, and it was time for me to move on to my next big crazy goal. And so just before I'd started my thesis, I'd finished up in a consulting role in electrical engineering, which was another role that I thought I would never get because of my marks and that sort of thing. And while I was doing that consulting job, I realised that this was definitely not for me. And I know Jody also did consulting, so she feels me. And so, yeah, I mean, definitely try out as many possible things as you can, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing a million different things before you work out what you want to do, and don't have one goal for your entire life, unless that's what you want. But, have a million goals if that works for you. I'm getting off track. Oh yeah, so as I was doing my quantum engineering thesis, I'd come out of consulting and I hated the role so much that I was like, someone should automate this job. And, I complained about it a lot, and people that complain don't get anywhere. So I was like, okay, I need to actually do something about this. So I went on a mission to start my own startup to automate my job as an electrical engineering consultant. And so I built a platform to start doing that. And as I was doing that, I fell in love with business development and product development. And so as I finished my quantum engineering thesis, I realized that, okay, what I want to do is build a business. And so the year following that, I took like a gap year out of university and basically went through the Antler program, which is like a startup incubator. Tried to start my own startup. That didn't quite work out for me. So I was like, okay, well, maybe it's not my time just yet, but I'm going to make sure that I get as much exposure to startups as I possibly can to make sure that I can reach my goal of becoming a businesswoman. And so I freelanced for a bunch of startups and then ended up working for one of the startups as well. That didn't work out too well for me. I absolutely hated it. But that's okay, because you don't have to just be in a startup. It has to be in a startup that makes you happy, which is another learning that I've had, I think, throughout my life, is to choose to be happy in particular and not just crush goals and do what society thinks you should be doing, and whether that's like doing a job or doing really well at university or whatever. So, challenge what it means to be successful, because success doesn't always look like, golden A's and trophies and all that sort of thing. Success can also be at a personal level, and it can be like you being satisfied and happy with yourself, which for me is, the most important thing. So from there, as I was having a particularly bad week at the start that I was working at, Eucalyptus reached out to me, and I started talking to them and started talking to the female engineering manager that they had. And I just remember getting so excited that I got a little bit teary-eyed that they had like a female engineering manager. And after talking to her, it just felt absolutely right. And so I made the jump to go join them. And it's been absolutely incredible. And I think Eucalyptus as a whole is really like embodying Choose to Challenge in every stride of its life. So whether it's, in the women's front, or they're challenging the way that we perceive healthcare and I guess like the shitty way that it is today. So I'm really grateful to be a part of a team that challenges, I guess, what we do every single day, and, why we like repeat things over and over again. They're really for automation, like taking creative bets, all that sort of thing. So I like every day I'm really challenged, and I get to do things from Instagram filters to doing creative stuff. And like today I was talking to the team about TikTok marketing. So as a growth engineer, I'm not just doing engineering, but I have the ability to talk to all parts of the team, from business to creative to marketing, and that's really special. So I leave you with I guess one last thing, which is a little bit contradictory to what I've said before. And that is, like, choose to challenge carefully. So while challenging can be awesome, it's also really, really hard. And I went through my fair share of, like, mental health mishaps throughout my degree and working at different jobs as well. So, challenge yourself when it feels right and when you're in the right mental state. But also do things that make you happy alongside that. Not every single thing that you do has to be a huge challenge, and it doesn't have to be a monumentous challenge. It can be something as small as putting on purple eyeshadow that day, because that's what you love and it's going to make you feel happy. or it can be as big as like wanting to start a business and then just writing out that first document, or like choosing the name or something like that. So yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Nivaaz, for that insight into Eucalyptus and your take on this year's theme, Choose to Challenge. Next up, we have Maddie from 9.
Thanks, guys. Hey, everyone. As mentioned, I'm Maddie, she, her pronouns. Full disclaimer, I am not a public speaker. I'm just a software engineer with a lot of opinions about gender equality. So, bear with me just using my phone to read some stuff off of it. So, a bit about me. I just finished up uni at the end of 2019, and since then I've been working full-time at Channel 9 as a TV app engineer. So what that basically means is that I code on 9 Now, on 9 streaming service, particularly on smart TVs. So to start you off, I thought I'd give you a bit of an insight into my day-to-day job at 9. So I work mostly using React and React Native. Being a smart TV developer, one of the biggest challenges is working on so many different types of TVs. Currently, we've released our next-gen app on Android TV, LG, Samsung, and Apple TV. Now, in a perfect world, you'd be able to use the same tech stack across all of those, but, they're actually really different on the inside. So this means you end up having to learn a bit of Java and Kotlin for the Android TV, and you have to learn Swift for the Apple TV as well. And then that's not even to mention that all of the video players are different across every single platform as well. So you really have to learn the basic of a lot of different things to be a smart TV app developer, which is something I didn't foresee. Oh no, there goes a plate. Thanks. Another surprising challenge is things like React and React Native are mostly used for web apps or phone apps, and you can use your mouse or your touchscreen to navigate on those. So one of the things we've had to work really hard to get working is actually using a TV controller for complex navigation hierarchies. In terms of how we work, we run agile 2-week sprints, and this means you usually work on maybe a few tickets for one initiative or feature with some bug fixes in between. Sometimes when we're trying to release a new version of the app, you might do some deployments and some testing as well. So some of the things I program on our app include regular video streaming and live streaming, ad insertion, data tracking in the app, mostly front-end work and making sure that the app is all running smoothly. But I don't just code, I also do things like reviewing other people's code and deploying our app and making bots and other services to help with productivity. So there's a lot of challenges that are really unique to being a smart TV app developer. I didn't actually see myself coming out of uni and going and doing that. I kind of fell into the role when I tried it out as an intern. So that was really great. And 9 has been really wonderful and supportive, and my incredibly talented coworkers are just great for helping me, get the job done. This all said, my experience at 9 isn't universal. Not everyone is a smart TV app developer at 9. There's heaps of other roles. We have things like web and app developers as well, data engineers, DevOps, design, QA, product teams, and a whole lot more. And we also use other technologies, including GraphQL, Golang, and we host our app on Kubernetes and AWS. It's okay, none of those words mean anything to you as well. No one knows everything. 9 is a proud sponsor of the UNSW and UTS co-op programs, so if you're in those and would like to intern, we would love to have you. Otherwise, if you're interested in working at 9, we hire juniors straight out of uni, so if you're working in tech, or if you specifically want to work in media tech, then feel free to grab me when we do the networking later and we can have a chat about that. Otherwise, you can look at our 9 careers site. Other than my main technical work, I also work closely with the Women in Tech group at 9, and that's part of why I'm here today. I'm super passionate about supporting diversity in tech, and lots of other people at 9 are as well. So some of the things that we've done for International Women's Day, it's not just hanging the posters up around the offices with the thought-provoking quotes and stuff like that. We also proudly support UNSW Women in Tech group and other groups that support tech education. And I personally am involved with a few events like mentoring at the hackathons and running mock interviews for students, and it's really beneficial for everyone. In terms of in-office change, we support equal pay, and we have a program to ensure that no woman is being paid less than a male coworker doing the same job. And we also have extended parental leave and support for working parents that come back after caring for their child, regardless of their gender. Another initiative we recently trialed was the Engineer Swap program, where we have engineers from different teams switch roles for 3 months to get broader experiences from across the business. And I asked one of the leaders of our Women in Tech group, Felicity Yan, what International Women's Day means to her, and she said, "It's an opportunity to both celebrate the progress we've made, as well as to acknowledge the problems we still have regarding gender equality in our industry. We should take a step back and observe and learn from the challenges and progress made across different industries all across the world. I may still only be early in my career, but having a workplace that actively supports me as a woman and not just as an engineer is just great, especially given that there is systemic sexism that a lot of companies overlook in the name of meritocracy." So I want to talk a bit about my story and share some of the wisdom I've learned along the way. So a bit about me getting here. I grew up on a farm with 3 megabit per second internet on a good day. I went to an all-girls school in Canberra and took programming classes from year 8, and then I switched to a co-ed STEM school for my senior high school years. I was excited to extend myself, but up until that point I'd kind of been taught to pretend that boys don't exist, which actually made it really hard to transition into a male-dominated field. Not only that, but I also suddenly went from being the top of a small class of girls to the middle of a big class of boys. It was incredibly daunting, and it affected my self-confidence and contributed to my internalization that because of my gender, I was inherently worse at this than them. And unfortunately, that was kind of only the start of it. I started to have my first explicit encounters with sexism, and that I was aware of anyway. The boys laughed at me when I told them I wanted to go into software engineering. Bug. I've been told you only got that scholarship because you're a girl, or girls just can't take a joke these days, and the classic, I'm not sexist, I'm an asshole to everyone equally. When I was younger, I never really knew how to respond to these things, and honestly, sometimes I still don't. But hey, I stuck with it, I'm still here, right? Luckily, most of my teachers really encouraged me and pushed me to go outside of my comfort zone, which is why I moved to Sydney. And when I came into my first year of uni, and I met all the other girls in my course, I wondered why none of them had programmed before. I kind of felt like I didn't belong, like I was the odd one out. So in my first year of uni, I decided to do some research into gender imbalance in tech. It was then that I found out that in 1990, 40% of programming students were female, but in 2020, it was 13%. Only 226 girls out of the whole state. That's in HSC in New South Wales. Not only that, but there is a huge shortage of qualified programming teachers in high schools around the country. A lack of demand from students mean that there aren't many, lack of demand from students mean that there aren't many teachers who become programming teachers, and a lack of competitive pay means that very few software engineers become teachers. So this results in schools being unable to provide programming classes. It's a catch-22, and it's a huge part of why the number of senior high school students in tech is declining, especially girls. So I realized I was super privileged to have learnt programming in high school, which really shows how dire the situation of tech education for girls is. It should not have to be a privilege to learn how to program. And a lot of people don't realize this kind of stuff happens, especially guys who more often than not have less of these barriers in the way. So about that wisdom I was going to mention, I have a few points of advice for uni students. It can take time to figure out exactly what you want to do. It took me all of university to figure out I wanted to go into front-end development, and I'm fortunate enough now to be in a role that I love and get to do that. The courses you do at uni aren't the be-all end-all though, and neither is whatever grad role you go into. Don't be afraid to try and fail in every area of your field. The fact that you even tried in the first place means that you actually succeeded. During uni, you'll find that there are heaps of opportunities to do group projects where you can do like code or documentation or project management or testing. Don't let yourself feel like you have a responsibility to do any particular role because your grades are riding on it, or because you're a woman. Even if the guys say they have more experience, no HD is worth missing an opportunity to learn. I promise you, when you're out applying for jobs, they'll care much more about seeing your evidence of your experience rather than a random grade for some assignment. In that vein, if you spend more time at university learning how to learn, you'll come away with more useful skills than someone who only did courses they were comfortable doing. During university, I did 4 internships, and it was super challenging. I'd build up skills at one job, and then I'd have to go to another place and learn it all over again. And while it was amazing to have the opportunity to learn so much, it did start to affect my self-confidence. I found it really important to tell myself, your workplace is privileged to have you. Even as an intern, it's normal to have a life outside of work. Don't feel guilty for leaving on time and spending your free time relaxing. While I do spend most of my day at work coding, I do enjoy coding, lots of people program outside of work as well, but that's not what I want. That's not healthy necessarily, and it's normal to be putting time outside of work into my other passions, and more importantly, into recharging. Regardless if you relate to my experience or not, or if yours is completely different, know that you're meant to be here. I implore you to empower and support those around you. It is not your fault that you are less likely to have experience due to a failing education system, and will unfortunately likely face challenges in future due to gender inequality. Keep going, keep learning. You deserve to be here just as much as anyone else, sometimes maybe even more, but you aren't an imposter. I should probably wrap it up soon. I have one last message I wanted to tell you though. Indifference is the killer of change. If there is only 13% of women in tech, and even less of that are the only ones who care about doing anything to fix the gender imbalance, then it's no wonder it's such a hard problem to fix. It also means you should support causes for other minorities in tech as well. Learn about how to support LGBT people, people of color, people with disabilities, and all kinds of people in tech. Because it can't just be the responsibility of the people affected by a lack of diversity who fight to make it better. I've had heaps of guys tell me they don't believe tech will ever be 50-50, that women are biologically less suited to STEM. I mean, excuse my language, but that's total bullshit. Just look around the room today at all the amazing, talented women. Like, we are here, we exist, right? No one can tell us we don't. And this is why events like this brunch are so important and valuable. Take any opportunity you can to find and create support. Thank you to everyone here today helping to fight gender imbalance, and to our male allies as well. It is by spreading awareness and supporting each other that I do believe we can not only reach 50-50, but more importantly, diversity of all people in tech. And I look forward to working in tech that day.
Thank you so much, Maddie, for that inspiring talk about how Nine is developing, what technology Nine is developing, and also how important it is for both men and women to, be a point of change for women to enter the STEM industry. I'll now pass it over to Jody from Atlassian to now deliver her presentation. And yeah.
How do I follow up from that speech? Mackey? First of all, thank you so much for joining us today. You are all incredible, and I'm so honoured to be here speaking with you all. As Nishmi had said, my name's Jody. So I currently work for a little company called Atlassian, if you've ever heard of them. We are an Australian-made tech firm based here in Sydney, but we also have a number of offices globally as well. What do I do at Atlassian? So my official title, let's call it that, is trust and security. So what does trust and security mean? So trust and security is basically we remove security barriers, we remove security issues so that customers can become customers of Atlassian, continue being customers of Atlassian, or become bigger customers of Atlassian. The easiest way to explain it is that we call ourselves cybersecurity subject matter experts. And when we speak with our customers, we talk about things like encryption, we talk about data residency, we talk about compliance, we talk about all things relating to security. Sorry, I have a fancy smartphone, but I did this the old school, and I wrote my notes down. My history. So the history of how I became working into cybersecurity. So without giving away my age, I started coding at the tender age of, I think it was 12, because I actually used to watch my brother code. He's 2 years older than me. And I used to go into his room and I used to see him do some really cool things, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'd like to learn that. So off I went and started learning how to code. And then, let's just say boys became more interesting than coding. So cybersecurity wasn't something that I always was planning on doing. I actually wanted to be a cop, because a lot of people used to say, oh my God, you'd be an amazing cop. And I'm like, yeah, I think so. So off I went to uni and started studying to be a police officer. And as I went through the rounds, I slowly realised that policing was not going to be my be-all, end-all. So I changed and moved into psychology, criminology, and I graduated as a forensic psychologist. Forensic psychology is not the most well sought out occupation in Australia, I guess, so to speak. So I had to sit back and go, oh shit, what am I going to do? And then I thought about it and I'm like, oh yeah, this master's degree, so why not go big or go home, right? So I started studying a double master's in policing, intelligence and counterterrorism with a specialisation in intelligence and cybersecurity. From this, I guess it opened many doors for me career-wise. I studied for 8.5 years, which was a very long time. And as any university student, as soon as I finished uni, you apply for every single job under the sun. I was very fortunate to be offered a role as a grad for working for Deloitte in their cybersecurity team. And the really awesome thing about this opportunity was that I was actually offered a job to work in Melbourne. So here I am as a 29-year-old, I'm happy to say that out loud, picked up my life, moved to Melbourne and started working as a grad as a 29-year-old. I really enjoyed my time working at Deloitte. However, an opportunity presented itself when I actually attended a Women in Security event in Melbourne. And the event was ran by a group called the Australian Women in Security Network. If you're not a part of this group, I highly recommend you joining this group on LinkedIn. It was only because of this event that I was actually introduced to Atlassian. I wasn't actually looking for a new job at that point in time. I was quite happy working at Deloitte, doing what I was doing and working with clients, mitigating through risk, mitigating through uncertainty. And it was only because I went and introduced myself. 3 months later, I was poached with a job and was asked to come and move back to Sydney and work in their Sydney office for the security team. I feel like tech firms are really setting the bar when it comes to closing the gap on women and non-binary individuals. And I feel like companies like Atlassian really have instilled my faith when it comes to closing that gap of gender inequality. We've really have strong programs geared towards championing various groups across the organisation. I would like to think that Atlassian is an incredibly progressive, is a very progressive company when it comes to movements globally. So we're very pro BLM movement, we're very pro LGBTQ supportive, but most importantly, we are very pro women's rights and equality in the workplace. International Women's Day for me holds a really special place in my heart, and I'm actually really honoured to be talking with you all here today. So again, thank you so much for listening to me. I do want to reiterate to you all that whilst this is a day of celebration and acknowledgement and appreciation, we still have a long way to go. It's an absolute solid reminder that whilst we have a still long way to go, it's individuals like you that can make that change. Change towards women's rights, change towards suffering. It's not just about the workplace, it's also about outside of the workplace as well. The fight against domestic abuse, for example, the fight against suffrage for women. I really want to encourage you all to be part of those conversations inside the workplace, outside of the workplace, at university, and wherever your life may take you after this. Choose to challenge. So I'd like to leave you all with 3 key takeaways that I would hope you would all like to hopefully remember after this meet and greet. So 3 things. So know your worth. I remember when I first started in cybersecurity, I'm not afraid to say this, but I did not have a lot of worth for myself because I never really stuck up for myself, and it was only because of the good people that I surrounded myself with really uplifted me to make me believe that I actually am worthy to be working in this industry. So I just want to remind all of you, you are worthy and you are worth being in this industry. The second point is find yourself a good mentor. Now, it's easier said than done, right? You want to find yourself a mentor that is not only going to uplift you, but that they are going to put you on the right path and put you in a position to see you successful. Now, hopefully, once you all leave uni and you all get experience and you all start working in the field, I would like to put something forward to all of you. I hope you all pay it forward like I am one day, and really uplift people around you and uplift women and non-binary individuals around you and get them into a place that you are all here today as well. They're also going to be in the same position as you in the next few years. I ask that you pay it forward. When you find a good mentor, stick with that mentor, listen to them and really bond with that person, because these are the individuals that have seen it. They're the individuals that have essentially paved the way for all of us, myself included. Lastly, know your worth. What does this mean? As previously mentioned, you are all worthy. You might not feel it right now, but you will eventually. I want you to choose very wisely where you go and work and who you go and work for. It's okay to say no. Don't ever feel like you have to say yes to everything. be empowered to say no and be empowered to go, I think I can do better than this. Choose a company that is going to support you in your dreams, in your career goals, in your aspirations as well. I know I learnt hard way. Even though Deloitte was an incredible company to work for, it definitely made me become resilient in the sense that I learnt the hard way of learning how to say no, but now I want to empower all of you to, when you are going out into the field and you are looking for work and you are looking for that experience, if something doesn't gel quite well with you, just say no. It's okay. You're not going to burn bridges. You're not going to make yourself look bad. It's fine. Totally fine. So please feel free to come and have a chat with me. I'm always more than happy to provide career advice, empowerment to those. I'm more than happy to always help, because I know that when I was in uni, I know that I needed a helping hand to get a foot into the door, and now here I am paying it forward. So thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Jody, for sharing your take on Choose to Challenge and also your journey in cybersecurity. So next up, we have Lachlan from McGrathNicol.
Hello everyone. So my name's Lachlan. I'm a cyber and digital forensics analyst at McGrathNicol. So for those of you who haven't heard of McGrathNicol, we're sort of a smaller consultancy firm. Most people have heard of the Big Four, but we're what I would like to think of as an emerging alternative. My colleague Alison was actually going to speak today, but so I can hear me now? Yeah, oh, that's a bit better, yeah. My colleague Alison was actually going to speak today, but I think it's sadly indicative that she was feeling ill and there was no other woman who could take her place because she's the only one on our team. So I've stuck my hand up here and hopefully I can fill in as best I can for her. To give a background on myself, so cyber and digital forensics. The team I'm in, we as a consultancy firm work with a whole bunch of different clients, basically on all sorts of cyber issues. So we do reacting to sort of cyber incidents, we do forensic investigations following incident, and we do preventative work as well, so assessing the maturity of our clients' controls, but yeah, a whole bunch of different areas. So I started with the firm about a year and 3 months ago, straight out of uni. So I went to UTS, I did a double degree in business and IT. So I applied for their vacationer program, had a great experience with them for a few weeks, and then came back part-time throughout my final year at uni. I think consultancy, for a lot of people who are looking at tech careers, they think of it as not a real tech career sometimes, or at least my experience has been that people think if they want to work in tech, they have to be, a software engineer or they have to be coding. I really do think that people should be looking at tech as a broader space, and people shouldn't necessarily limit themselves to what they perceive to be the career they want to do or what they think they want to do in tech. I know myself, I majored in software development. I decided in my final year that I hated software development. I wasn't going to do that. And that's, of course, what led me into this alternative career path. So, talk about today's theme. So, choose to challenge. That's sort of how I want to approach that. Don't limit yourself to what you think a career in tech looks like. You decide for yourself what you think a career in tech looks like and what success looks like for you. So, many of the people that I've worked with at McGrathNicol, they come from a whole bunch of different backgrounds. We have people who, some of them started in law enforcement, some of them started in hospitality or tourism, and it doesn't matter where you're coming from. You can make that move into tech, and it can look like whatever you want it to look like, really. I know that many of our senior managers have never written a line of code in their life, yet they're some of the most successful people in our firm because they build the relationships we need to succeed. And without them, really, those of us with the raw technical skills who can write Python scripts and Java and whatever it might be, we need them as well. So a career in tech can be what you want it to be. So obviously, as a recent grad myself, I know what it's like to be in that sort of final year where you're trying to get the experience, trying to apply for as many things as you can, make those first steps into the professional world. I know it's challenging because I know myself, I applied for maybe 30 positions or so, heard back from maybe half a dozen of them, maybe had 4 or 5 interviews and ultimately settled on McGrathNicol. And it is daunting when you're getting those emails coming in, they're thanking you for your application, but unfortunately didn't get a position, whatever it might be. Endless nights of psychometric testing and all those online tests they make you do. I'm sure many of you are probably familiar with those. So yeah, it is quite a process when you're trying to make that step to professional world. And I would encourage people when you're doing interviews, don't just see it as a one-way process. You're not just trying to put yourself, make yourself the best candidate. You're also interviewing the company. It has to be the right fit for you. And I know that at least at McGrathNicol in our vacationer programs, it's often it's more about cultural fit than it is about your skills. So, we have candidates who maybe are the most qualified and the most skilled, but it's your attitude and your enthusiasm that really gets you the role in the end. And I think as you sort of make that step to the professional world, don't think people expect you to be the best programmer or have the best qualifications. It's about putting yourself out there and just showing your true self. If you're trying to portray a persona that isn't the real you in interviews, people can tell. And I think at first I was probably guilty of that myself when I was doing interviews coming out of uni. And when you're going through these interviews, don't be afraid to ask the questions back at them as well. A lot of people, when you get to the final bit where they ask you, do you have any questions for us? A lot of people have one or two generic questions, and that'll be it. If you ask a meaningful question and really show that you understand the company and what it is that you're getting yourself into, they will realize that you have a genuine interest in that career or that company. And it vastly increases your chance of getting a vacation program or a graduate program, whatever that might be. So I think it was talked about, I think Maddie mentioned it earlier, I think you had a number of internships yourself going through uni. And when you're initially starting at different companies, you really have this experience of having no idea what you're doing and you've got to start from scratch each time. And that also can be daunting. But as Maddie said, I would encourage you to just embrace that. Once again, people don't expect you to know everything, but they expect you to put yourself out there. So to talk a little bit, perhaps just about cyber and digital forensics, is anyone here studying cybersecurity? Maybe just a hand up. No, okay, no cyber people here. Well, as I said, whatever you've studied, that doesn't mean you can't have a career in something else. So I did software development, I ended up in cyber. Don't be afraid to link yourself to that. Just to finish up, I'm going to shamelessly spruik some of our firm's vacation and graduate programs. So we do have applications open at the moment. So if anyone's interested, we would love to try and even up the numbers in our team. Our firm has only 3 or 4 female partners, the other 30-something are all male. And my tech team, whilst I think we have a really good culture and we're very welcoming, we have a long way to go in terms of getting those numbers up. We're trying. We always say this, we might only be 10% women, but we're constantly looking to improve that. We want to be the company that sets the example, that shows other tech companies, what they should be trying to do and where they should be heading. And I do think that we are making progress. I think compared to a few years ago, things are improving, but there's still a long way to go. So I encourage you all, get out there, put in your applications, get experience, and good luck with your future careers. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Lachlan, for sharing everything about cybersecurity and what you're also doing within McGrathNicol. So now we will also move on to our open floor networking session, where you guys will have the opportunity to get to know our reps a lot more, ask them more specific questions. And in the meantime, the WIT team is just going to finalize the preparations for the food, and we'll call each table one by one, just to, I guess, eat some food, get some energy going. So yeah, thank you so much, and feel free to just have a chat with our reps.